What we want now is what's easy. What we want most is what's hard. And we have to not do the easy things and spend time and attention on the hard things to get what we want most in the long run. What is up, everybody? And welcome back to the Schooling Struggle Podcast. It is our belief that the only guarantee in life is that we're all going to struggle, and how we choose to embrace our struggles is what empowers us to be the best versions of ourselves. I'm Pete. I'm here with my co-host Todd, and we are the Schooling Struggle Podcast. What's up, Todd?
Peter, my man. What's happening? Long time no listen.
I know. I was away down in South Carolina last week during our normal magical Monday recordings.
Yes.
On vacation with my wife and my daughter, recharging my body, refreshing my mind, and I'm back in action, ready to go.
Can I ask you a question?
You just did, but you can ask a second.
May I ask an additional question? What was your least favorite thing about vacation?
My least favorite thing about vacation. So the girl that sat next to me on one of my flights had the puke bag in front of her face the entire way.
But did
and
she
I was
go
into
for
a
it?
really good book. I'm into my Wu-Tang book right now. Oh my gosh, it is amazing. And I had such a hard time focusing on this book because I kept turning my head and looking over the corner of my eye to see if she was puking.
Did she finally erupt?
She did not finally erupt, but she was so anxious. Like every time the plane even jostled just a tiny little bit, she'd like white knuckle the seat, and she was just, I felt so bad for her. Luckily, it was a short flight, thankfully for all of us. And my wife has a super, super intense fear of puke. It's like her number one fear. Like she says on the first day to her students, like in the first 10 minutes of the new school year, if any of you have to puke, please run out of the room and do it somewhere else other than, So the girl was sitting behind my wife, and I didn't tell my wife, and my wife didn't know the entire time, because if she did, it would have been a really, really tough go. So I felt so bad for this girl. I was praying my wife wouldn't see, and I was just like, my stomach was in knots. And then I started thinking, like, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Stand By Me, and oh my gosh, with the pie eating contest and the puke fest. Like, has it ever happened on an airplane where one person's puked and another person saw it, and there's this chain reaction of just puke all over the airplane?
Could be.
The other thing I learned is that they don't have the little puke bags at every seat in the airplane anymore. So the girl had to ask the flight attendant, and the flight attendant brought over 2 huge trash bags and double bagged it for the girl. So she had like a nice wide opening, because I imagine those little puke bags are probably really tough. I've never puked in one, but to puke in them, like with the opening is only as big as your mouth, is probably pretty difficult.
Yeah, it's like a popcorn bag, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to do with this thing?
Yeah.
Stand By Me reference will be in the show notes, by the way.
All right. I wasn't planning on talking about this at all, but when I lived in Vietnam, everybody got around on motor scooters.
Yep.
Only the wealthy drove vehicles. And if you wanted to kind of go a far distance, you took a bus. And there are no interstates there. So like the bus goes through every city. The reference I use in the East Coast is taking Route 2 through Boston. It's just one stoplight after another and a ton of traffic. So the city that we traveled to use the airport was 60 miles away, but it was almost a 3-hour bus ride. And the Vietnamese who normally ride motor scooters, when they get on the buses, they tend to get motion sickness, like a large number of them. So everybody gets a puke bag. And one night, my wife and I were riding home, and people were puking all over filling up these bags of puke, and they take the puke and just kind of put it on the seat, the puke bag, or on the floor. And then when they get off at their bus stop. And we were like the last stop. So we're about to come into the station, and the bus attendant, so there's a driver and then there's also the attendant, walks up and down the aisle and takes all the puke bags and just throws them out the windows. Like, take it off this seat, throw it out the window next to that seat, move to the next seat, pull it, take it off that seat, throw it off the window. And the craziest part about this whole operation is these little plastic bags of puke are getting thrown out of the bus, and the bus is surrounded by people in motor scooters because everything's just like packed in so tight. And I just said to my wife, can you look at what he's doing right now? Like, he's just throwing, he probably threw 20 to 25 puke bags out the windows. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen the Muppets with the Swedish chef, just throwing stuff over his shoulder. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. People had to have getting puke bags in the face, like as they're riding their motor scooters on either side of this bus.
Do you think that the cattle on the ride were like, check this out?
I would take cattle poop in the face long before I'd take someone else's puke in the face.
Yeah. Is that where Jen's complications with puke started, or did it exist before that?
Long before that. Yeah. But
so you're the unlucky recipient of
man,
sick daughter days. Then that's probably you.
You're awesome. What was the worst part of the trip? I had no intention on sharing puke stories from Vietnam, but the trip was awesome.
Cool.
We just had a lot of good times on the beach and a lot of good Southern food.
Sweet.
A lot of quality time together, which was awesome.
Good job.
But I digress.
Yeah.
You digressed. You digressed me.
I digress, and everybody comes along. So what do we got? What do you got cooking?
You have absolutely no clue what tonight's topic is.
True.
Because I thought about it while I was on vacation. And I was thinking about my time and how we spend time on vacation and how it differs from the way that I spend time at home. And it got me thinking about the term when you hear people say, I didn't have time or I don't have enough time. And I think I've shared with you in the past, my kind of paradigm shift on this is because as long as we're alive, I'm not saying this is fact. This is my new kind of perspective on this. As long as we're alive, we have time because time just never stops going, right? So it's not like there's lack of time because as long as we're awake, awake, but as long as we're alive, time keeps going. So it's not that we have a lack of time, in my opinion. It's our attention. I chose not to put my attention into this. And what I'm coming to believe is where we choose, I don't even know if maybe for many of us it's not even choice, where we put our attention ultimately makes us who we are. And where we put our attention either adds value or detracts from the value of our life. We're never stagnant. So wherever I'm putting my attention, I'm either adding value to my life or my experience, or I'm taking away from that, whether I recognize that or not. And this entire podcast is based around the conversation of schooling struggle. And I think that for myself and for many people, managing our attention is a real struggle, especially in a world that is a world of abundance where our attention is being sought out by other people for various reasons, many of them monetary. So I think when we think I don't have enough time, we're saying, well, that thing wasn't important enough for me to put my attention into. Or the other thing that I say to my students often is, it's not that I didn't have time, is that I chose not to make time. And if something is not important to us or not important enough to us, then we don't give it our attention. And I think what's tricky is we end up giving attention to many things on an unintentional basis. Like I went to check this one text message and then I ended up being on my phone and down the Instagram or the YouTube rabbit hole for 30 minutes, those types of things. So what I did was I took a little bit of time to write down how I spend my time when I'm not on vacation, when I'm at home. And it's interesting to me because I've been trying to turn my attention to what I call an essential life. And an essential life is a life that my attention to my actions back who I say I want to be and what I say I want to be doing. And it's hard to always match your attention with what it is that rephrase that. It's hard for me to always match my attention with what I say I want to be and how I want to spend my attention.
Yes.
So I guess where I want to go with this conversation is how do we add value to our life through our attention? And I want to, as always, after I go on a 9-minute rant like I just did, this is one of those episodes where honestly, if you didn't say a word, I could just preach and go for like 30 minutes. And I don't want to do that because I love hearing your perspective. So I want to ask you what your perspective is on all or some or any piece of what I just shared.
What was the last question you asked? How do we add value to our life through our attention? May I ask you a question?
Yes, but one second. The follow-up to that is how do we add value to other people's lives with the way that we appropriate our attention? Now you may ask your question, Mr. Ellis. Oh, and for you listeners at home, unfortunately you're not able to see, Todd is rocking a giant mustache right now. That is just so nice.
Maybe I'll put a link to my mustache at the show notes.
All right. What do you got?
The internet. I have a few things. They're not all questions. I might start with a statement. This reminds me a lot of our intention versus attention conversation, and I don't remember what number that was, but it was a while back. The first thing that I found myself writing down that I was most interested in was I know you love to focus on the tactical pieces that people can take away, and I appreciate that because I think that the outcome of anything that we do, ironically, should have some sort of positive takeaway or some sort of interaction or impact to people who choose to come along. So, in line with kind of your topic, what percentage of time do your so you said something along the lines of you try to spend your time to be in that essential way or mapping to your intention, and correct me if I'm wrong where I'm going there, but what percentage of your time do you actually succeed that you're aware of, and how do you respond when you're not, or in those times that you don't succeed?
So for me personally, to answer that question, first I just have to review what I claim to be my values are, and what my values are is what makes my attention essential. So if I'm going to live, love, learn, and lead with a strong mind, a healthy body, and a grateful spirit, all of my attention needs to be, or any aspect of my attention needs to be in line with any part of that for it to be essential. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So before we sat down, it's funny that you asked this question. I didn't do this. Let me say, I didn't ask Todd to ask me this question. He just asked me it. But before the podcast, I sat down and I wrote how I spend my time. And here's how it breaks down during the school week. 9 hours are dedicated to being at school or commuting to or from school. I have committed to 8 hours in bed. That does not mean that I get 8 hours of sleep, but I am in bed for 8 hours, 8:30 to 4:30. Super long piece that I could describe. 7 years ago, I decided that one of my goals was going to be to finish in the top 1% in this worldwide CrossFit Open online international workout competition. And the closest I've gotten was the top 2.5% until I got injured. And I don't know if I'll ever be getting to that 1%, but I like to think that if I can avoid injury, I have a shot. So as of right now, my training for that competition, which is a year from now, is 3 hours a day. That's a session in the morning, a session either during school, during my free time, or right after school, and then a session of mobility, physical therapy, and meditation, and oftentimes a hot bath before I go to bed. And that comes to 3 hours. I spend an hour a day with either meal prep or eating, an hour a day of dedicated family time, uninterrupted, approximately an hour a day on house chores, and an hour a day. So that's that. Everything I just said leads 23 hours. And then I have an hour a day of what I call my passion projects, which is this podcast. I have a couple other really exciting things coming up. I'm not going to announce yet, but that I'm working on behind the scenes that I'm really excited about. So if I look at my list, sleep, school, workout, meal, family, chores, passion projects, everything in there except for the house and the chores is in line with what I deem as essential in my life. And the reason why I wrote this list down is because a while back, I found myself spending a lot of time in the evenings doing stuff that was not essential, namely social media, internet related, or YouTube rabbit hole. And oftentimes the YouTube rabbit hole was fitness related, but it just wasn't what I deem essential. So in looking at that, what I can fix is to spend less time on house chores. And how can I do that? The only way that I see doing that is somehow turning my passion projects into monetary or monetizing endeavors where I can take the money and pay to have the house chores done. And that's something that I'm getting going with pretty soon here.
And that's how you respond when you don't succeed. Like by flipping that over to me. Okay, well, if I need more time based on all those things all those criteria you just shared, then what I'm going to have to do is monetize something so I can get out from underneath the things that I see as taking my time where I could be beneficial in one of those other avenues.
Yeah.
Is that accurate? Okay.
Now there's things that are not on that list that I do that often happen like on the weekends. So like extra house chores, but I do a monthly budget. Those types of things. I have one of my high school buddies, he's my pen pal, and we write letters back and forth by hand.
Nice.
That kind of stuff, but that's all falls within my essential living because that's like connecting with other people.
Okay.
What threw the monkey wrench in all of this is committing to 8 hours of sleep because a lot of people, in my opinion, from conversations I've had with people, that's the sleep is kind of what ends up getting the short end of the stick. And 3 hours working out a day seems excessive, and this is not a sustainable endeavor for me. This is like a 1 or 2 year thing that I'm going all in on right now. So that time will free up down the road.
Oh, I see.
So from a tactical piece, I think if you are able to be honest with yourself and sit down and write down all the ways that you spend time and try to get an idea of an average of how much time goes toward those things, I think it could be a little eye opening to see that, wow, I spend 3 hours a day watching TV, or
Yeah.
I spend this amount of time playing video games, or
Do you
any
think?
of these other things.
Do you think you? Do you? What's the best way? So as you were talking, I was writing things down, kind of in a tactical way, which is you started with, I have my values defined, so I know like that's where I start, and then I determine where I spend my time, so I know if the time I'm spending is mapping to those values. And it sounded like then you create the things that you do, or the things, your intentions, based on the intersection of those two things. So would you say, if you're thinking tactically, if somebody was like, okay, well, I hear Peter saying all these awesome things, but I want to know how I get to do that, or where I start with that, is it first by defining your values, or can it be, see where I spend my time, then try to overlay my values?
I would take the latter. I would say write down how you're spending your time and looking at them and saying, do these things line up with the ways that I want to spend my attention? I think the values thing is a really long,
It is
challenging, difficult endeavor. And you can't just sit down and write your values. You have to, for me, I had to kind of really mull them over for years. So I think without knowing what my values are, without defining my values exactly, I'm still able to sit down and say, all right, I spend about this much time sleeping and about this much time at work and about this much time doing this thing and this much time doing that thing. This has been eye-opening for me because I realized that I wasn't committing to my family in ways that I wanted to, and I wasn't committing to my fitness in ways that I wanted to.
I see.
Yeah, it's been really helpful for me in many ways to think about how am I spending my attention. So I don't really think of it as time as attention, but the metric that I'm using is
time to gauge. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess the first thing, and I totally agree with what you say about values. Like for the first 45 years of my life, I didn't even know what values meant. Like I was like, what is that even supposed to mean? And so, yeah, but I think really what I heard you say, what stood out the most to me is being honest. Like you have to be honest about writing the things down, because if you're just like, yeah, well, it's kind of fudged on that, you're not going to get an accurate portrayal of what it is you're wasting or spending your time on. And then, you're always going to be cheating yourself or shortchanging yourself based on how you want to be dishonest. Right. So really it's being able to be honest, and then being willing to write those things down, and then being willing to look at them nakedly to understand what they really mean and how they align or misalign. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And if I think about each of those places that I'm spending time, I could think, does this add value to my life? Like the research that I've done says if I get 8 hours of sleep, which I don't, I get about an hour and a half less sleep than I do in bed. I think I've shared that in the past, hour to an hour and a half. But I know that if I prioritize sleep, it's going to enhance my output or my optimization of all those other things.
Yeah.
Right. And I happen to be a person that absolutely loves my career choice. So like going to school is, to me, that's essential. Like I'm impacting the lives of others. So that's in line, and if I go down the list, each of them are. But a year or two ago, I was spending a lot of time doing things that weren't what I would deem as essential. And that's when I switched to go into the early morning workouts, because it was like, all right, I'm done with all my stuff at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and I'm staying up till 10 doing stuff that is not essential. So now I'm going to go to bed 2 hours earlier, get up 2 hours earlier, and do essential things.
Is that just because you can't bang weights in the basement because everybody's sleeping? Or did you purposely offset it that way? Like, what can I do in the morning to make me get up earlier and quit wasting this time, or quit dedicating my time there?
What the 4:30 workouts came, I've been doing those for a while, but they came because my daughter would sleep till 6 when she was an infant, and I just that was time I knew I had to myself. Yeah. Wow. So I just think I often hear with conversations I have with people is I don't have enough time, or I'm not, time is my issue, and I don't know that it's time as it is attention, and to take a hard look and say, well, I didn't have time to do this. However, I am spending 3 hours a night watching episodes on Netflix.
My dad
the same
used to
thing.
tell me. Go ahead.
Same thing is with money. Like it's the same thing. Like I don't have money for this thing that would enhance my life. However, I'm not willing to give up my $200 DirecTV
Yeah.
monthly bill,
Yeah.
or
Right.
I'm not willing to not go out to eat 4 times a month
Yeah.
to the tune of $200 or whatever that is. The $6 latte at Starbucks every morning.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. It's, I remember when we used to piss and moan about not having time to do things when I was a kid, my dad would always say, we all have the same 24 hours in the day, right? Like it just depends on how you spend them. And he just left out the part, like the part that you said with the prioritization and the what's important and the what moves you towards these other things, which are, those are advanced class things, I think. But I think if, as long as you can wrap your head around, everybody has the same amount of time. And obviously other people are doing things, even, there are individuals in everybody's life that do things that are aspirational to those individuals. And if you think about how they accomplish that, they're probably not doing the same things that are holding you back that you may or may not be aware.
I can remember my dad, he sat in an office all day and he would come home and his serenity or his escape from that was to do yard work. Like he loved going out in the yard and mowing or raking or whatever. And that was his separation and his alone time. And he really, really seemed to enjoy that. That's not me. I don't enjoy yard work in any capacity. I have a cool lawnmower and I enjoy riding my lawnmower, but everything else in my yard that needs to be done, I'm not interested in doing. I would much rather take all my personal training certifications and nutrition coaching
Yeah.
license and all this stuff and work with people and take the money that I make from that and pay someone to do the yard work, because I feel the time that I'm spending doing those things is more essential. And I'm actually building something over time, whereas just getting the yard work done and having the yard work
Busy work.
need to be done again. Yeah. But it's just different for everyone. And some people really, really love and take a lot of solace in that time in their yard for whatever reason. They want it to look nice or they just enjoy getting outside, whatever that is. So I'm just trying to figure out what's most essential for me. And the question that I get when I share this with people is, well, just isn't that freaking exhausting? Like, isn't that so tiring to always be essential and to not have any downtime? But like for me, the downtime is essential as well. And how can we use that downtime? For some people, that is just a mindless episode on Netflix, and that downtime is essential to their optimization of what it is they're trying to achieve. It could be that. It could be a podcast. It could be a movie. It could be going out with the guys or going out with the girls or whatever. To me, then you're connecting with other people, so that's essential as well. But so there is no like right or wrong or good or bad on how we spend our time, but or our attention to me. But it's just, is this thing that I'm doing or is this thing that I'm pouring my attention to leading to an essential life?
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard for people like me. Like I totally see the utility in that, and I see its utility through you. Like you're very structured, like to a fault, right? Like you like to do these things, and you do these things at a time, but that's because you have been able to come to terms with, this is when I get these things done, and this is what they mean to me. So what I'm thinking of is, how do you teach that to your daughter? Like how do you make that not the over structure, or not the structure that you have, but that aspect of importance or that nuance of how do I realize the things that recharge me, the things that I'm working towards, and the time that I spend doing them. How do I come to grips with understanding what those things are? Like, how would you teach that to someone?
I don't have a perfect answer
Yeah,
to that. I don't
yeah,
know. Like I believe right now my daughter's job is to explore the world a lot through play.
hmm
And
oh,
so, all right, yeah, I guess so. Here's, I
even
don't know
more
if this
interesting is
isn't
being like, when does that switch?
right,
Maybe
right.
that's
And
what, yeah,
is job even the right word?
yeah.
Like, her responsibility right now. Um, yeah, I don't know this. I don't know if this answers your question, but like, so I believe for her to lead an essential life, we need to keep, my wife and I need to keep her off screens as much as possible, based on what we know from anecdotally and from the research. Right. And we just did a 5-hour layover in Washington, D.C. airport that we did not expect on the way home. And like the thought of my daughter even looking at a screen for any portion of that just wasn't on any of our radar. It's not like, oh, we're going to be the family that doesn't let her. It was like, it's just not something we do. So we literally, I'm not exaggerating, we counted, we rode the escalator 28 times. We
Mm-hmm.
rode the people mover 12 times, and we got on the little train that goes around the airport and links all the different terminals.
Concourses, yeah.
Yeah, multiple times. So like we have kind of a standard for that. Like we've decided we're a family that's not going to lean on screen time, and that's not right or wrong or good or bad. It's just kind of our choice. And yeah, how can we as parents guide her toward the time that she uses as essential? You know,
Yeah.
and for me, anytime she's playing and she's not on a screen, that's an essential. She's, you know, using her brain in multiple ways and being creative and connecting with the nature in our yard or her pets or her toys. And
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. I like how you use
yeah.
guide, not prescribe, because I think there's a
Mm.
that shows your intention, right? Like, no, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just suggesting potentially there's a different way.
Yeah, and we were walking past a restaurant, and I just kind of peeked in the restaurant. And I noticed that every single kid, at least that I saw on my brief, 26-second walk past,
Yeah.
every single kid in that restaurant was on a screen. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, it's just something different that we do.
Yeah.
And will it pay off down the road? I have no idea. But we think to lead our daughter to an essential life, that's something that we should be doing right now.
Nice. Yeah.
And it is friggin' hard. And I think
Yeah.
leading an essential life is friggin' hard. It's really, really hard. And it all comes down to that Abraham Lincoln quote that I talk about all the time, which is discipline is the difference between what we want now and what we want most. You know, what we want now is what's easy. What we want most is what's hard. And we have to not do the easy things and spend time and attention on the hard things to get what we want most in the long run.
Hmm.
But I think sitting down and writing and taking a hard, honest look, like you said, at where we spend our time is that tactical first step. And then the next step is, all right, how can I make small changes?
Yeah.
Does this sound familiar?
Yeah. The
How can I
atomic
make
shape.
small
Yeah.
changes so I'm spending a little less attention and time on the things that are non-essential and do a little bit more time and attention into the things that are essential?
Yeah. And for a framework for that, refer back to our last program.
Yeah.
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 Episode
Make
17.
those small steps.
Yeah.
Yeah. And start to see progress there and build on that. Because, I believe that progress is the single best motivator.
Yeah. It's just hard. Like you said, it's very difficult to keep that
So
always in focus.
where are some aspects in your life where giving attention to the essential things is a challenge for you?
Yeah, we've talked about this before. Parenting is tough for me because, well, for a host of reasons, but I think I became complacent at an early age because I didn't intend to have children as young as I did. And so then I was like, oh, well, I have to go work. So that's your mother's job, is to train the children and do all the things, which is complete horseshit. And if I think about it now, how much have I lost because of that narrow view, right? And but to that point, it's very difficult to get back, because when I've tried to anyways, like reinsert myself into that relationship in a meaningful way, not only is it awkward and clunky, but most of the time it's so difficult and arduous that I don't see a benefit in it because they're almost out of the house. So it's just like, well, you'll get it in a minute, and then when you come back around, which is a complete cop out, when you come back around, it'll be better because I still don't have to put anything into it. And so that's probably the most difficult part for me. As strange as it seems, I'm pretty well rehearsed in structure, just not to the fine line that you are, but like I definitely am like very structured in my approach to doing things long term. So like I know that I need to work out, at least 5 times a week in order to keep my sanity, or else things are going to start falling apart. And I know I need to meditate, and I know like these things. Typically, I'll try to do them at the same time of day because then it builds that habit. But I haven't sat down in a very long time and looked at the things that I like, keep track of the time. I did it at work a couple of times, and it was embarrassingly shocking. So I was like, wow, I spent a lot of time surfing the web because most of my work's on the web. But then it was just like, oh, that's a crutch. Like you just do that because you're just totally, misguided. And so I think that the hardest part of all that for me is to look at it honestly. And I'm going to do that. I wonder if, did you do that by yourself? Look at those things, or did you like run it past your wife? Like, hey, I noticed I do these things. Like, did you notice anything else about like when I'm doing those that I might not have seen?
Yeah, so I did that by myself, but we've had conversations many times where that dedicated family time gets interrupted. And that's a place, as I look at the list, that's a place that I could make improvements.
Mm.
Like I literally should turn my phone off and put it in a different room.
Yeah.
So that during that dedicated family time, and that dedicated family time for me is when I get home from school before dinner. So that's like the 4 to 5 hour in our 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. hour in our house. My daughter, she does 15 minutes of piano each night. So like we try to have her do that either before or after that time. I'll use that time sometimes to get a jump on the dishes or to, take care of a quick school email or whatever. And so that's an area of my life where I say I'm spending an hour with my family, but am I
Yeah.
really?
You're kind of cheating it, right? You're letting it slide.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And then it's turning your attention to those things one at a time. Well, I mean, as small as you can start, right? Like that's the second part is the awareness, the acceptance, and then what am I prepared to do about it?
Yeah. And for me, there has to be a tactical step. So it's like, all right, if I'm not being fully intentional with my family time, what are the barriers to that? What's getting in the way? Well, probably my phone. All right. So then what's the solution? Okay. I tried just putting it in the other room and leaving it on, but I still go in there sometimes.
Yeah.
So I need to put it in the other room and turn it off. And I need to know that getting a jump on the dishes might make that easier for me getting to bed on time, but it's not staying true to the hour of my family time.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
So
what do you do about Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying it's like I got to think about like what is the tactical response, the hard action that I can take to be better there.
Yeah.
And it is exhausting sometimes to be thinking about that all the time. Yeah.
It's funny because I found myself I've been trying to redo this thing that I did for a while intentionally, which was it's a cell-free Sunday. That's what I tried to do, right? And so when I wake up in the morning, cellular phone. Yep.
Cell-free Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely.
No phone on Sundays.
Absolutely. So
Okay,
as much as I can do it, and don't go into a prison cell either, because that doesn't make any sense. But so I found myself on Sunday. I woke up and I'm like the charger's, on my dresser, but it's away. And I looked at it and I was like, nope, cell-free Sunday. And then I found myself like, like, I wonder what's going on. Oh, did that guy reply to oh man, this thing, right? And but it's like, hey, psst, over here, right?
Yeah.
And so I wonder, like, do you make time? I didn't really lead into this well, but what I've noticed about my interaction knowing you over the last however many months and years, but especially since we started doing this podcast, is I find things that you do contrary to the things that I typically entertain in my own mind. And so so then I play with them. I'm like, oh, well, I wonder what would Peter do? Like, I wonder, I'll go challenge myself or think of things differently in this way. And all this to say, do you leave time to think in different ways and challenge yourself in ways that will consume that time so you can be different, right? So Tom Bilyeu has this thing, it's called ideas in, ideas out. Like if you're not getting ideas from somewhere else, your head's going to be an echo chamber until you hear something from somewhere else and you're like, oh, but do you intentionally put time or focus your attention on doing things that are completely different when you hear about them?
Not nearly enough.
Because I know that you listen to a lot of different things. And so that's probably where you come up with all these ideas. But
yeah, it's interesting. The kind of the paradox there. So one of the, I think, the weaknesses of my structure of my day, and one of the weaknesses of myself or my character faults or whatever shortcomings, is that there's very, 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 very little quiet time built into my day. Very little. So I wake up in the morning and I drink water and I listen to a podcast while I warm up, and then I listen to music while I do a workout, and then I go upstairs and I have a 6-year-old who's running around the house, and when we sit down and have breakfast every morning as a family, which is really cool. But that's conversation, and then it's I can finish my breakfast and be ready for school in a very short amount of time. And I'm on there's certain roles that I play with getting my daughter ready for school, and certain tasks that I'm responsible for getting her ready, and certain tasks that my wife's responsible for. And then I leave the house and I get in the car and I listen to music or sports talk radio on the way to school. And I get to school. And once I get to school, it's just full tilt, like interacting with people from the moment I step into the building to the moment I leave. And I have loud music on during my classes. Each class has a playlist that they've made. Students chose a playlist. So get in my car, music on the way home, get home straight into family time. Then when I do my house chores, it's always headphones on, listen to a podcast. And I get in bed and read. I do my gratitude notebook every night, and then I read, and then I fall asleep to a podcast. So there's very little quiet time. So that half an hour before bed where I stretch and meditate, that's still like, I'd like to put on classical music and just chill. And I did that for like the first 10 times, and now I'm back into listening to stuff. So there's not enough quiet time in my day. I think in real time, sharing this with you right now, one thing that I could do is turn off stuff in my car So 15 minutes to school, 15 minutes back. That would give me 30 minutes of quiet time of thinking in my day, and I wouldn't have to change a thing. So thank you.
Yeah.
That's
Well, to be clear, I wasn't suggesting that you did, but I hear people who are, I don't know, they see themselves as very successful people, and they're always working to optimize their time to do just that, to get ideas in and to get ideas out. And like they'll have races to see who can pee the fastest. So, how fast can I brush my teeth in an efficient way? And to me, like, that's cool. Like you've narrowed it down to that far, but where's the time that you're exercising those ideas if they're not just in thought exercise? Like, you know what I mean? So,
I do not see myself as a successful person at all. Like I don't
really,
view myself. Yeah, I view where I can be better. I'm trying to not be crushing myself with my shortcomings, but I don't view myself as a successful person. And I have definitely have
interesting.
a lot of I may have shared this, but like I was, as you know, I was very physically small in high school, and even now at 180 pounds, when I look in the mirror, all I see is that 115-pound kid. I've shared that in the
Mhm.
past in this podcast. So like I think some of that proprioception or how I see myself, and my students will tell me that, it's like, Mr. D, you need to give yourself
Step
more
it up.
credit for
Yeah.
this or whatever. Yeah, which is really nice for them to help me with. One student in particular, Rory, big shout out to Rory. She's really helpful with me with that. She's a student I
Nice.
can really rely on for that type of thing. Yeah, I don't view myself as a success, but I do want to just strive to be better each day and to live an essential life. And I want to lay my head at night going, did I impact someone's life today in a positive way? And if the answer is
Yeah.
yes,
There you
yeah,
go. Yeah.
then it was a successful day. But
Yeah. Good
um,
conversation. We
yeah,
could go for hours on this one.
this one's got our
Yeah.
attention.
Big tab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, kind of put a bow on this or give it some closure. I still believe that where we put our attention either adds value to our life or detracts from it. And in thinking about that concept, taking time to think about all of the ways that we spend our attention and how each of those things either adds value or doesn't.
Yeah.
And there's things that are, can be described or listed or stigmatized as bad, but maybe you are getting value out of it. I didn't have any type of substance addiction at any point in my life, but I don't know. Can you speak to that? Did that add value to your life in some way, shape, or form when you were
Yeah, I mean,
involved in
absolutely.
that?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah. I
yeah.
once was on a podcast and a guy asked me a question: if you could go back and relive your life without X, would you go do it? And I was like, no, hell no, because I wouldn't be the person I am had I not had all
Right,
those interactions. Sure, they might have been like my parents were probably like, oh my god, we're completely off the rails, but I'm like, no. And through those mechanisms, I'm probably building up a social circle or finding my way to some truth in life. So I think that it's very interesting to see where those. That's why I kind of asked you that question about your daughter. It's like, are you taking it one step further and then imposing your values or the ideas that you've got in life on somebody else in a way that is what you don't hope to achieve, right? And I think that that's
right.
very easy to overlay on top of people when you talk about self-help, but you should and this that. I think that that's not a far stretch from where we're at, but
My favorite Todd Ellis quote is "We'll should all over the place."
yeah, gonna go shitting all over the place.
Go shoulding all over the
Yeah.
place. Should.
Yeah, it's a terrible. If you're should, you need to ask some questions from people because that's a good one.
Since I've met you, when I say to myself, I should, I try to catch myself and be like, Todd wouldn't let that one go.
Yeah,
Find a better approach to that.
easy to say, hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, there's a lot of endpoints here that we could go in different
Yeah.
directions. But yeah, thanks for sharing your the questions. That's a good one.
I do think that managing our attention is a major, major aspect of schooling our struggles. And I think if we are able to manage our attention in an intentional manner, I think that's helpful
I
with
think it's the
navigating.
most important part, right? Like, because ideally everybody's battling for our attention. I mean, even if you
Yeah.
see it or not, the news, Facebook, like
Yeah.
all these different things, they just want a slice of your, if either they want it for money or they want it for just your attention or to piss you off to get you to go a certain way. Like, but if you're able to sit in, I'm doing what I want to do, and I can root these things that I'm doing in that way towards those things, I think you've won a lot in the road in the battle
Yeah.
of schooling struggle. So
And it comes back to the quote that I say to my students every day is, don't let life do you. Go do life.
yeah,
And that's essentially what I'm saying is strive to manage your attention in ways that add value to your life.
yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of attention, I'm going to flip it and say to our listeners, we're incredibly grateful for your attention.
Mhm.
We thank you for your time and we appreciate your ears. the School and Struggle podcast. We are out.
See ya.